Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the first track in the 2025 TechCon. We have today a very interesting speaker and a very interesting topic. So the topic would be cloud native observability and AI driven remediation. So observability has come a long way, and like every other technology, AI is part of observability today. And we have Jacob from our product management team. Jacob has been in AI for over a decade, and he's bringing that AI experience and all of that wealth of knowledge and implementation experience into Instana. And we are all here excited to hear what Jacob has in store for us today. Some housekeeping. Please keep this session interactive. This is we are here, Jacob and I are here for you. This is for you. So at any point, if you are not clear about something, use the chat to keep it interactive. I'll jump in, ask Jacob, and he can clarify. Also, we may have a poll at the end. Please give us feedback, because at IBM we are always looking at improving and bringing a better experience to you. So let us know what you like about Instana, what you like us to do better. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Jacob, and let's enjoy TechCon, get the most out of this. Thank you, and Jacob, all yours.
Thank you, Sean. And I will say to everybody, good morning and hello across the world, and welcome to TechCon 2025. My name is Jacob Yakinovich. I have overall product management responsibility for Instana. And I do want to say, despite the audio or video digital image, Sean is a real person. It's not a video made up. We just have some video connectivity issues, challenges with Sean's feed this morning. So apologies for that. But again, welcome to our time. We have about 55 minutes to take you through the latest and greatest with respect to Instana. I want to set the stage about the problems that we see, the challenges that we see in this space. You live them and breathe them every day. So I'm not going to get into too many details and bore you to death with what you already know and live in your environments. But take you as well through a journey about what we've got in Instana today, and then where we're going next. Maybe you can show some demo of some of the capabilities that are most recent in our releases of Instana. But before we begin, as we do with all things inside of product management, they make me put this up because I'm a product manager. We might talk about the future today if I show a roadmap slide. This is just a slide that says, if the future doesn't come true, please don't sue me. So with that being said, let's jump into it. A lot of conversations that we're having with our customers are about a journey, about understanding what it means to do and apply cloud-first principles and strategies. It's more sophisticated than ever. The reality is not about lifting and shifting your applications. It's about making the right architectural challenges and answers and choices to accelerate your business. Why are those architectural decisions being made? The business is asking teams to go faster, do more, produce additional features and functions to maintain a level of competitiveness for the things that you serve to your customers on a regular basis. So as part of this, you're picking the right capabilities, the right technologies, the right principles for today's architectural problems and today's business challenges. Those choices might seem academically straightforward, but in practice, as you know, very well so aware, that these choices are sophisticated and complex. Right here, there are 900 projects and products, and that number is only growing from the Cloud Native Computing Foundation's landscape. The cloud native ecosystem is rich with tools to help you answer that question of how do I architecturally set myself up to go faster, from Kube to service meshes and database technologies that are brand new, security platforms that are brand new. But with all the different choices, the biggest challenge that we see happening next is understanding what my risk profile is and adopting these technologies and this cloud-first principles. How can I make sure that what I'm working with is going to allow me, as I make those informed architectural decisions, is going to allow me to maintain the visibility into my application's health and performance and business impact while we take advantage of these additional technologies as part of our overall ecosystem in our operations landscape. This is where modern day observability solutions like Instana come into the discussion to help you cut through this complexity, maintain your current or even improve your current risk profiles and optimize the appropriate levels of cloud native performance so that going faster and delivering more to the business doesn't mean breaking faster. It means actually delivering more value to your customers. The observations we see is yesterday's observability solutions, frankly, were built to handle the architectural principles and approaches for yesterday's applications and architectures. It's not a rock to throw, it's a state of the art. I didn't have to worry as many as 5 or 10 years ago that the technology was going to change faster than it takes me to finish this sentence. I had approval boards, I had reviews, I had a stack, I had the approaches to handle for the approach that I took for the workloads at the time to meet the business need. There was at that decade was a heavy reliance on the right amount of circumstances to set everything up. I had to put it all together. I had different views, or even cost was a secondary thing. Let's just get it out there and we'll figure out what the cost of the bill is going to be later. I had different understandings of what a vulnerability was per se. I had more control over being able to deal with those circumstances before they negatively impacted my business. Artificial intelligence was this newer thing, and we weren't quite sure what exactly it could do in terms of delivering value. So that's fine, but the challenge now that you're hitting from a cloud-first application perspective is more along the lines of this statement. What are you going to do when a series of containers spin up, perform the task that the business is asking them to be performed, and then terminate, never to exist again in the time it took me to finish that sentence? The biggest challenge that we've got to figure out is how are we going to catch those circumstances? You can't do periodic polling, 5-minute intervals, 1-minute interval. Even by the time I finish that sentence, several versions of those instances might have come and gone. So being able to understand what to do and fully harness the understandings of those principles and strategies are part and parcel to what it means to have a modern day observability product in place to be able to capture the things that are happening at the speed of today's business. Enter Instana. Instana is purpose built to be able to be right with you in those cloud native and cloud first strategies and principles and dealing with those circumstances that are happening at very fast speeds of understanding full perspectives about what's going on across the entire application stack, being able to show you the right information and the right context. So it's not just the traditional melt kind of data, but being able to put this into context is what's important from an Instana perspective. Yeah, everybody in observability can do melt, but what we're doing is the right analytics and the right insight to help you sift through all of the signals that are coming in from all of those different sources of insight about your application to understand truly what's going on and what do I need to do to rectify the situation before it begins to negatively impact my business. All of that insight goes into Instana, powered by some of our other capabilities as well. You'll hear me say Turbonomic, Concert, and KubeCost, and we'll show a couple screenshots of that. But what I mean specifically is these analytic capabilities of some of our colleague products in the portfolio are now manifesting their capabilities inside of Instana's user interface and user experience. So without skipping a beat, so to speak, you can realize the value of enterprise observability with Instana, but then also taking advantage of Turbonomics, application resource management at the best possible cost analytics, KubeCost's understanding of cost and performance as it relates to Kubernetes, understanding vulnerabilities and assessments of risk profiles around understanding what's going on from a CVE perspective with Concert, all within the capabilities of what we present inside of Instana. So without, what specifically do we mean when we're able to capture this information? We mean being able to provide per second real-time capture of the information that's happening about your business with no gaps, 100% collection. We mean it. When I mean 100%, I mean truly 100% collection and no gaps. There's automation and different levels of analytics and intelligence throughout Instana. And we'll talk a little bit about this as we go throughout the next 45 minutes or so. But essentially understand there's the right level of analytics and intelligence in the way we collect data, the right level of intelligence and on analytics and automation and how we process and contextualize the data, and the right level of analytics and intelligence in how we showcase what to do based on our best practices that we've either encoded or the ones that you've told us about on which ways to act and remediate those situations as quickly as possible to return your applications to a healthy level of performance. The understanding from Instana's perspective is we get it. There's 300 plus different technologies that we support out of the box, including OpenTelemetry, to be able to handle different sources of truth and insight that are providing a representation of what's going on for your applications. This is not meant to be going and grab and spend a week or a month or a year trying to install the product. This is meant to and purpose built to be easy to use, easy to install. Get started with our SaaS solution in minutes with respect to Instana's capability, in hours if you're going to run self-hosted or client managed on the platforms of your choice. Being able to understand what's going on and get to value as quickly as possible is what we're really focused on with Instana. One of the other things that I'll say as well that's worthwhile to just bring the message at the very beginning is, unlike some of the other observability tools that are out there, you have to get out a spreadsheet almost and try to get out the old calculator with the rolling tape, and every time you tap it and you hit the button and it rolls and it taps, and try to figure out what exactly my bill is going to be at the end of the month, because did I use this feature, did I not use that feature, how much did it cost me to use this feature, oh my gosh, you charge for index and ingest and query. People are complaining that my bill's a question mark. I've seen all the memes on Reddit and other places on the internet about what's the surprise bill going to look like for my observability tool this month. I don't know. What we've done with Instana is to say, enough of that. You don't have time or the willpower or need the frustration of understanding the surprises that are going to be with respect to your use of our solution. Instana is $75 a month. All of the features and functions that we're going to talk about today are $75 a month. It's simple, it's transparent, it's predictable. You understand it doesn't matter which features you use. It doesn't matter which features you don't use. It's $75 a month per MVS. It's that way at the beginning of the month, you know exactly what your bill is going to be at the end of the month, regardless of what features you took advantage of and which ones you didn't take advantage of, and have to do this calculation of ingest versus not. It's all a straightforward and transparent and predictable price point with respect to Instana. So what do we mean when we're talking about observability for cloud-first application workloads? Specifically, and these are screenshots of what I mean. We'll show a demonstration of some of this later on, but understanding you don't have one cloud, you most likely have your application workloads running on several or multiple. You're picking the right technology, the right cloud platforms, the right hyperscalers to be able to do what you need to do, and you've made those architectural choices. Instana is there to be with you on your journey. So supporting Kube running on GCP or Azure or AWS or OpenShift or there's over 300 different technologies that we support running and understanding what's going on to collect the information that we do. How do we do that specifically? Instana has an agent that runs in the environment to be able to collect the information about what it sees. So usually that goes on a host or in some type of environment if you're trying to do serverless. But the idea and principles are, this is where the intelligence comes in terms of collecting the data. The agent itself is I want to say self-aware, but is that's a bridge too far. What it's doing is it's constantly looking at the elements that it sees when it's running and the host that it's running on, and detects that it has additional technologies or capabilities either through scanning or other types of activities to determine, hey, there are pieces of middleware, there are these pieces of technology that are also running on this host. I'm going to then phone to the Instana central system to go grab additional modules of knowledge and then become now that much more intelligent to go capture the information that pertains to that additional piece of middleware. So for example, if all of a sudden it sees that there's an instance of Docker running on that particular host, now the agent is going to Instana's central environment saying, hey, I need the information to be able to harvest the knowledge about Docker because it's now running on the host. It goes and grabs that knowledge, and then now the agent is able to harvest that information as though it knew how to do Docker from the very beginning. So it's constantly looking to see what systems and technology are running where the agent is running, and then updating itself. Best analogy I can remember, do you remember the movie The Matrix, where right at the end they're like, hey, I need a program to be able to fly a Huey helicopter, and they hit a button and all of a sudden now the person in the Matrix knew how to to fly a helicopter. It's kind of like that kind of a conversation that goes on between the agent and the systems in Instana's central environment. That's how that technology works. But it's meant to be,
Hey, John. Jacob, you mentioned the easiness, and also you mentioned the pricing model, that it's so easy. What I've also heard from clients is typically Dynatrace, right? Everybody knows Dynatrace as the leader. And what we've seen is a lot of clients, when they don't have the budget or they don't have the bandwidth to use Dynatrace everywhere, they start using Instana in pockets, and then they notice it's like a blind taste, right? They don't know the difference between Dynatrace or Instana. It's just the same, and it's a lot cheaper, a lot easier, and they find this over time. So.
That's a very good point, Sean. And I'm happy to say that this is part of that, if the future doesn't come true, please don't sue me. In the next 6 days, I believe we'll have our 292nd release of SaaS for Instana. And as part of that, I'm happy to give you an early preview that it's our intent to have available additional integrations to some of our other colleague observability tools, so that if you're taking advantage of technologies like Dynatrace, New Relic, App Dynamics, Datadog, to have those integrations turned on, to be able to even start bringing in the data from those other observability tools into Instana, so that you have a single frame of reference from those tools into Instana's view, and enable you to do a side-by-side comparison and continue in your decision if you want to continue within the Instana journey and continue to leverage the information that's already being collected from those other observability tools. So yes, absolutely, Sean. And to that point, we've got some extra things coming soon.
Yeah, and that's really relevant, and that's awesome, Jacob, that our team is doing that, because the industry studies show that most clients have at least 3 or 4 APM or observability tools.
Exactly.
And I think often automation happens in silos. And now with Instana and with this new unique integration that we bring to the market, we can allow you to act and respond more quickly, because we can break down those silos.
Exactly, Sean. Great points. And back to the conversation around application workloads is understanding, of course, the details about what's going on in the health and performance of the application, but also being able to build a dependency map and show you the details of the discovery and understanding of how those different elements are associated to each other, being able to give you an abstract isometric view that you can see the entire landscape of your environment or ecosystem, being able to turn on specific visual indicators to be able to see, like I show you in this lower right-hand side of the screen that says, hey, there's a particular issue going on with this particular container where I think this says memory usage is high, to be able to understand what's going on at an entire landscape level, and at the same time being able to understand what's going on into individual calls that are being made in the health and performance of a given application. These dashboards come out of the box. The visibility and expertise that we put into Instana allow you to get that insight without you having to click and drag and draw things around and be able to build it from nothing. No, we're going with the approach of, we want to present this as an initial best practice and then allow you to take the additional filters or other modifications that you want to make in the presentation of the data. As you can see here, and being able to make filter capabilities or grouping capabilities into a customized view if you want to pivot the information that Instana has about what's going on in the health and performance of the application right in the product, without having to go to some other UI tool or have to drag and drop other things to be able to realize this. One of the other new features for 2025, in case you haven't seen, is what we call logs in context. Now, what do I specifically mean by this? This is unlike some of our competitors. We're talking about the ingestion, processing, retention, and query of logs, both verbose and timestamp data that's generated by applications and infrastructure entities. I don't charge for ingestion versus processing versus query. Remember that flat, simplified pricing conversation? I mean it. So we don't charge for those. The only charge we have is if you want to keep the information for 30 or 60, excuse me, I did not expect that to pop up, and it did, for 30, 60, or 90 days to be able to keep that information. That's our demonstration of Instana. I'll get there in a minute. To show what's going on in the health and performance. If you want to keep that data around longer, then Instana does charge for SaaS to keep the retention for the log data at a 30, 60, or 90-day period. But the intent is not necessarily to force you to then go into the idea of, okay, well, now I got to go with my culture and my process of doing ad hoc search queries and say, select everything from these logs and find me everything that starts with quote or some other terminology. No, we don't want you to do that either. What we've got in this, what we call logs in context, as you can see here in the right hand side, is I'm showing you the relevant traces, the relevant metrics, and the profiling results, and now the right information about the logs and the element data that is present in the log information in the context of the application. So it's all put into the right context and showing you, as part of your diagnostic process, these are the logs that pertain to the circumstances that you're investigating right now. That's different from some of our other approaches or other competitors are taking, where you have to go deal with logging on the side and then build the context yourself. No, and there's no tagging needed inside your logs either. Instana's got a handful of different advanced analytics and approaches that are correlating the logs and the relevant traces and infrastructure entities at collection time. So no more manual labor or vendor-specific instrumentation needed to be able to get this context. Instana's doing this work for you and then presenting the information about what pertains from those log messages in the context that you so desperately are looking to try to do in operation, so that when there is a problem, you can have that analysis right there, right ready for you to be able to see without having to go and dig through all the other data and try to get an understanding of ad hoc queries. It's all provided for you to be able to get that in that context right when you need it the most.
Hey, Jacob, there was a question, and I think I like this too, because I think when you look at mean time to detect and mean time to resolve, you want to cut out as much noise as possible and focus on. So I think this is awesome. I think based on your previous comment, right, of what is coming, I think you already got the audience excited. They wanted to know the integration between Instana and some of the other tools, whether it's Dynatrace, Datadog. Is it one directional, or can we also send data from Instana to those tools? Like, what's the strategy there?
Right now, we have a unidirectional flow from those third-party tools that we're intending to release here in the next 6 calendar days into Instana. And we'd love to hear feedback from customers. So please take advantage of this. And as you use these features with our 292nd release of Instana coming up next week, give us feedback. We've got some additional ways to get feedback straight to my team. There's an email address now that we've got. I think it's called instanafeedback@ibm.com. We've got other ways to give us feedback. So, and I mean it, we're listening. All of my team have access to these email addresses, to the feedback that we receive. We're listening. We might not respond to everything, but we are absolutely listening to.
Yeah, and we have like customer advocacy.
Null.
Yeah. And we also have like customer advocacy programs, other programs where you can really participate in the build of Instana. We'd love for you to be part of this community. And I think to the other question, right? Well, Jacob mentioned we are doing unidirectional into Instana. We also have a product called Concert, which we built within IBM, which is bringing telemetry from tools like Turbo and other platforms like Red Hat and things, where Instana is also piping telemetry into those offerings. So we have other integrations where Instana is sending information to Turbo, Instana is sending information to platforms like Concert. So there's also the bi-directional. There was another question, Jacob, like, what are we doing with ServiceNow? Because I know a lot of clients have huge investments with ServiceNow. Is there anything you could share there?
Everyone wants to see the roadmap slide. Yes, one of the other features that we're excited to talk about in the next 6 days is a first review of a bi-directional integration with IT service management technologies such as ServiceNow, to be able to have the right level of integration and update the tickets, and accordingly then have that right dialogue with ServiceNow, so that when you do have an incident, you can, in Instana, that incident has reciprocity into the details that are present inside of ServiceNow, and have that bi-directional integration flow. I don't have a slide to talk about it because we haven't released it just yet. Stay tuned.
And I know, like Jacob and the team, they're also doing a lot of things, because within Instana, I know Jacob will get to that, is how we recommend, right? It's not just we're just throwing some random information to ServiceNow. We're actually making an intelligent recommendation as to what to do in ServiceNow. So you have all that intelligence gathered in a ticket. So whoever wants to respond to it or act on it, is taking the right actions or taking the right decision.
Correct, and we'll get there in just a few minutes. But I first wanted to also say from an Instana's perspective in terms of observability, we hear from you all that there's a ignited interest in taking advantage of large language models and generative AI as part of your overall application. And great is what we say. There's an amazing set of technology to be able to take advantage of large language models and have your business build its capabilities that much more effectively and efficiently to its end users. There is a cost involved, and that comes from an observability perspective that says, look, I need to understand this is essentially a new piece of technology that is now being injected into my overall business workflow. I need visibility to understand, is the large language model functioning? Is it delivering valuable information and insight through the construct of my application workflow, or is it essentially sending hallucinatory or other types of negative feedback to the end users? I need that visibility and insight. So I'm happy to say, actually it's about a year now that we've had this capability in Instana to be able to show you a understanding of what's going on for applications that utilize generative AI as part of the overall business workflow and workload, to say, here's what's going on from an end-to-end perspective across the overall application, where that application transaction utilizes large language models, to be able to give you the level of insight of what's going on in terms of monitoring of the compute capabilities, as well as being able to understand the performance, health, utilization, and latency of what's going on within the generative AI workload space as part of that overall application construct. So it's basically a way to say, we get it. We understand this is very important as your businesses start to take advantage of large language models as part of your critical applications. We want to be there to make sure that we're ready to showcase this information to you and get you the right context about what's going on with those performance of those generative AI involved transactions inside your observability tools such as Instana. What do I mean by application context? You've heard me say about applications a couple of times. I just took a screenshot to show you exactly what Instana means. They're called application perspectives. We tend to name things fun inside of IBM. But anyway, there's essentially different ways for you to be able to tell Instana what's important in the way you do things for your business in your application context. This could be services, it could be endpoints, it could be a particular journey, it could be an environment, it could be a bag of things that are really important to the way that you do things. We don't care. Whatever's important to the way you want to classify or categorize a definition of this is important in the way I do business, keep track of it this way and call it an application. Instana salutes and says, yes, absolutely, I will start doing that. And I'll put the context about what's going on in the health and performance of that definition of important based on the policy that you've told Instana. So a lot of different ways for you to be able to convey that's not necessarily discoverable from Instana's agent perspective, but it's inside that intellectual property between our ears. We're the operations leads. We know what is important to us. We want to be able to convey that information and get that context in place so that Instana can give you the right kind of insight about what to do when there are things that are happening. Now, when I talk about the right level of AI to help you investigate and predict, don't think about this in terms of a crystal ball where you walk into a silk screened room and you look at a table and there's someone dealing out tarot cards and saying we're going to predict your future and read your palm. No, it's not that. When I say we're using the right level of AI to help you investigate, I mean we are helping you stop problems from happening in the first place by analyzing, again, 100% collection of high fidelity data at per second levels to be able to present this analysis before it becomes an incident that impacts your business negatively. So when we say Instana is predictive or proactive, I don't mean the dealing of reading of your palm or looking into a crystal ball. I mean give you a sense of what to do before things become a negative business impact. So that's what we mean. And specifically, it's being able to showcase to you what we call probable root cause and understand with the right level of intelligence built into Instana that says, this is the overall explainability that says, this is the conclusion that Instana came to. In this case, case, it says that there is a particular Apache process that's in fault. It gives you a probability score, and it provides you the level of explainability as to how Instana came to the conclusions it did. In this case, it's showing you that there's a particular high cause, and it shows you the particular hierarchy of where the conclusion came from in terms of the technology and infrastructure that's involved. It shows you the evidence. There's a button right there in the product user experience that says analyze these calls, analyze the errors, show me, reveal to me the additional details so that I can get into the same wavelength or understanding, and I can have my hypotheses align with the analysis that came from Instana, all within the perspective of understanding this one particular circumstance that comes up as an issue or an incident that it looks like something is wrong, that he needs human attention to be able to look into the next level of detail. And as
and Jacob, on that, I know we do baselining really well what normal looks like.
Yes.
I think when the workload starts deviating from normal, and I think that's another way we also find out the smoke before the fire, right? So when you start, and I think this is where, like, as a business or as an application, if you're a very SLA driven or SLO driven organization, we can help you maintain those SLAs when you start deviating.
Absolutely. We call them smart alerts, where you can specify the traditional horizontal threshold, but also a dynamic threshold, because it's 2025, you expect it. All business follow the sun to some extent. There is a pattern or a wavelength to usage levels, and making sure that we've got the right level of adaptive thresholds in place to be able to give you alerts when it's pertinent to the circumstances that go on in the definition of normal of the business, to be able to showcase those accordingly. So it's not necessarily a horizontal line, but one that follows dynamically with the health and performance of the business under normal circumstances. And we're taking advantage not just alerts, but the metric data, to Sean's point, the threshold violations that we detected, the exceptions, logged errors, the traces, the configuration data, all correlated into our dynamic graph to try to focus on what is the probable cause analysis of the circumstances that are happening. Instana's guided troubleshooting takes you through all this to be able to get an immediate understanding of what's going on with respect to the circumstances that are happening that are negatively impacting your business. And as you click on them and go into that detail, I'm just zooming in here in some of the examples, is to show you what are the related events, when did they happen, what were the circumstances that were happening, what was the timestamps, what was the impact, when did it take place, to be able to give you an analysis and context of all of the circumstances that happened, the blast radius of all the other externalities that may have been going on around the periphery of the core issue, to be able to give you that context in a single frame of reference and help you understand what's going on as quickly as possible. And using that analysis to give you an understanding of okay, I'm going to get myself aligned with what Instana's analytics are showing me, that much more effective and efficient to be able to get the right understanding of what's happening as part of my investigation, show me the technology, show me the call stack, show me the details that are happening, to give me that understanding of what to do and confirm that my suspicions and analyses align with Instana's analyses, and give me that right context to get in line with what circumstances are happening right now. You notice on one of the other screens I mentioned that there's this other picture down here, this recommended actions. Let me jump to that and talk a little bit about what we mean, because that's to Sean's earlier point from a few moments ago. We're not stopping at just giving you and say, hey, you need to pay attention, there's something going on here. It's also giving you the right level of empowerment to act, and that is one of two ways. It's all within the action catalog, but essentially the solution is we can either act on your behalf with our capabilities inside of Instana or leverage third-party technologies. We'd love it if you use Ansible. Please use Ansible. Ansible is an amazing piece of automation technology. We love it very much. We have a direct integration with Ansible where we're taking the jobs and workflows that have already been predefined inside of Ansible, providing those in our action catalog, and then when you hit act or go, we're communicating with Ansible to go perform that action or task on your behalf, and then listening what Ansible says and then providing you the response back. So amazing piece of technology that we've got really good integration with respect to Ansible. If that's not your choice, or you want to be able to have other capabilities built into Instana to be able to take advantage of, we have that in our action catalog to be able to find those actions or use existing ones. Some of them come out of the box that we have in pre-trained or pre-learned learned heuristics from Instana and IBM's best practices, as well as being able to create your own Jira, GitLab, GitHub, webhook scripts, or links to other documents if the next thing you need to do is just make sure the people that are looking at this need to go to the right spot to go to the next task or process. We understand. Why is there so much flexibility in this? It's because acting is, it's unique. It's personal almost to the specific operations teams. There's a culture, a process, and a tooling that exists in your environment and ecosystem. We are not trying to say you got to throw all that out, rip and replace it, and put it with some, just use this. This is we want to make sure that Instana is built and is functional to work with the way you do things in your business, not the other way around. So that's why we have so much options of flexibility here to allow you to do the way you want to do things in terms of being able to act on the circumstances that are happening. So as part of this, not only do we have specific automations that you can define, but in those circumstances where you need additional help, where you're not quite sure what to do in the circumstances that are going on. My favorite scenario is it's 2:15 in the morning and okay, I've woken up, I'm still rubbing my eyes, trying to get myself into a cognitive state of processing the circumstances as why I got called in to deal with this in the first place. I'm looking at dark mode and looking at the information that Instana is presenting me that says you have a problem, this problem is on you, and I get it. I acknowledge the situation, but now it's 2:16 in the morning and I know what to do, but there isn't an automation to be able to run. Now, again, I'm still early in the morning. My cognitive state is poor, and I now know the circumstance that I need to happen, but I don't have all of the detail in my mind. I don't, for example, remember all the arguments and parameters in the correct sequence to go perform this operation because it's 2:16 in the morning. Who would? So what we're looking to take advantage of here is the capabilities inside of Instana, leveraging the technology that we have inside of watsonx to help you generate and augment your expertise and generate the right action with an expert involved in the conversation with our large language model solution. So being able to show you what the circumstances are, give you the guidance on what to do to generate the action, see what that information is presented back in terms of the action to perform or the script to perform, and then showing you the results so that you as an expert can look at that and say, true, yes, correct. Aha, I remember where that argument goes. I see what that parameter be. I got it from here. Thank you. I was able to do this without having to go look at Stack Overflow or Google or other locations. This is all helpful to me. I, as the expert at 2:17 in the morning, have a higher degree of confidence that what I'm about to go do is going to rectify the situation. Thank goodness this was here, because this would have taken me another hour and a pot of coffee to remember which particular commands and args and parms to put in the script that I needed to run. That's the idea of what we mean by using AI as a tool to augment your teams. I really think of the right level of artificial intelligence as the equivalent of a calculator to a mathematician. It's there to help the mathematician do the tasks that they need to do, not to replace them in any way, shape, or form. So with that, we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to save time for questions. We still haven't even gotten to the demo.
Yeah, I think we did really well on the questions. I know, Jacob, a lot of the audience will be excited about the demo. And I know as you tee up the demo, I think I liked what you presented, right? Like, I think automation is a journey for a lot of clients. Like, some crawl, some walk, some run. So I think with the automation, like you give options for everyone, right? Depending on where they are in the continuum. And like you said, the right level of AI, like AI we are using when like you said, humans at 2:16 in the morning, that's where
Yes.
you could really use AI. So we are using AI in a smart way. So.
Absolutely. So without further delay, let me show you a couple of things. And I promised that we would talk about a little bit of the capabilities inside of our powered by capabilities with Instana that we have with Turbonomic and other solutions. So let me show you exactly what I mean here by those capabilities. So specifically, if I go here to, this is Instana. I'm looking at the default view of Instana's capabilities, and inside here is the circumstances of how many incidents that I've this is a sample environment. I don't expect people to have 27 incidents simultaneously going on with P2s and P1s. So bear with me, I know. But the idea is being able to show you all the different variants and formations of the different ways to be able to show the circumstances that are happening. I can see custom dashboards that I might have put in place together. I can see what's going on with respect to important websites and important mobile applications that I have. If I have specific applications that I want to see what's going on, all of this is in the context of a welcome Jacob to the main page. This is where you need to pay attention to what's going on. So if I look at, say, for example, the circumstances that are happening with Robot Shop, I'm just going to click on Robot Shop here to give me a perspective of what's going on. I see that there is some issues that are happening more recently where the erroneous call rate was going on earlier. To be able to see what's happening, my call rate went up a little bit. I can go in and view that and analyze what was actually happening at that particular point in time. And I can see that there was a particular circumstance where the EUM SIM example was way high in terms of erroneous calls. How many calls were going on. I can get into the next levels of detail and understand, okay, what was going on in that service. And I'm in the fifth click here. So I'm not just showing you the specific clicks I'm using with my mouse. In about 5 clicks, I'm now into level of detail of this was the circumstances that were happening. These were the number of erroneous calls. This is the website that was activity that was happening. In this case, Jessica Horston from a made-up person who was accessing this made-up application was giving me was attempting to use our Robot Shop and gives me the details of what was going on. In this case, the details of the GET showing me that there were 500 errors for the particular application at that point in time. A very nice way to go from, again, that main high-level page to say, hey, what happened there just a few minutes ago? Oh, looked like there was a particular circumstance happening with the application that was throwing 500 errors. Now, if I go back, it's been fixed because in this example, the circumstances have been dealt with, so the error rates are back down to normal levels. But being able to showcase this information, we thought was very powerful to be able to say. And this is true for any of the different types of technologies that we have, be they cloud native, cloud first, or traditional technologies, or hybrid of your application construct. The choice is up to you. Our analytics are processing it, again, per second granularity, 100% collection of the information to be able to give you this insight. I can also see the dependencies and see what specific elements are contributing to the performance and execution of that application. The indicators of color here are indicating that are there issues, and then being able to go into the details of the circumstances that are happening to inspect those issues right from the dynamic graph topology view into the specific details about what's going on in the health and performance of those particular elements that are making up the application construct. So in this case, it's showing me that there are a couple critical issues. In this case, a sudden drop in the number of requests that have come in. I can go in here and see that there's an issue that's actually been opened by Instana. It started about 10 minutes ago. So yeah, 10 minutes and 5 seconds, there's the duration, and showing me additional analytics and details that are pertinent from Instana's analysis of the circumstances, showing me the information about how much calls have gone on, what the recommended actions are. In this case, there aren't any. We'll get to that in a minute, but being able to show you, okay, why? What's Instana showing, saying this is a potential issue that is going to potentially negatively impact your business. In this case, at 82% change in the overall value is a problem in terms of the number of calls. And you can go in and do the analyze calls. Again, back to that explainability. Why? How is Instana coming to the conclusions it did? All of that presented to you in a way that's meaningful and straightforward to be able to get the right level of context about how Instana came to those conclusions that it is right now. In those circumstances where you want to see, for example, I'll just go back because I said I was going to go back to these recommended actions. In this circumstance, Instana doesn't have anything in this view. So what you can do is you can say, hey, generate with Watson X, and you can provide the particular information in here and do a live generation. And this information is already pre-populated, but if you want to add additional information, you can. I'm just going to hit the Generate with AI button in the blind and see what the generative AI solution is going to do. What's this exactly doing? In the couple of seconds that it's taking, I'm making a call to our Granite model hosted on the IBM cloud. I'm not using, it's anonymous information, and we're not training or learning from the data that you send. This is a query only to our large language models. So we're sending the context of the description and the event name into our large language model. Our large language model is performing the query and providing the generated content. From here, you can copy that information or use built-in actions to be able to set the particular task that you want to do, and then take that information and then do with it as you will. Either make it an action that you want to perform, or save it in the catalog, or go and take that action right now. The choice is yours to be able to understand what you'd like to do next. I don't want to upset the apple cart with this example, because it looks like there's an issue going on in progress. So I'm going to hit leave page and go back to the circumstance, since I don't own this issue. Someone else in operations is going to. You can also see over here, this is a guidance from Instana to tell us back and give us feedback and give our analytics itself feedback to say, was this helpful? Did this issue help you? Yes or no, thumbs up or thumbs down. We like feedback so that our analytics can improve over time as well, and be able to give you an understanding of which issues are relevant or pertinent to the way in which you think about negative impact to your business. One other thing I wanted to show you as well when it comes to just applications, I'll go here to quote of the day. I'm clicking on one specifically in our application list because I want to show you something very particular about quote of the day. Now, in this case, I don't have any issues with this, but I did want to talk to you, as Sean mentioned, about our integrations with certain capabilities and technologies, about the empowerment of the analytics, say, for example, inside of Turbonomics analytic capabilities inside of Instana. New for 2025 is a new view inside the application perspective called optimizations. When I click on optimizations, it's a new title bar. You can hide this, but essentially it's a way to show you that this is the analytics powered by Turbonomic that are presented inside of Instana's user experience, that shows you a circumstance about what are the key performance indicators about the health and performance of the application, how efficient the particular application has been, and then what are the recommended actions that the analytic engines have manifested as ways in which you can improve the health and performance of your application at better cost levels. In this case, I'm just going to click on the triangle to give me this analysis. So when you click on and there's not actually a run button, it's more of just tell me more. But being able to show you in a view, this is the particular circumstances that might impact your application in a positive way. These are the improvements of what will happen in terms of the heap levels and the percentiles. And if you want to, you can tell it where to run it and then hit the run action button. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to change the system. But the idea is all of this is right in the context of Instana's user experience to be able to show you recommendations on how to improve the optimization of your existing applications, all in a single frame of reference without having to go to another tool or another experience to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, and Jacob, this is powerful, right? Typically, APM or observability tools are more taking care of code level inefficiencies.
Yes.
And when it goes into node level or infrastructure inefficiencies, this is where, whether it's Dynatrace, Datadog, any of these tools, they have a gap. And I think they rely on more of the cloud native infrastructure tools. And I think here we are bridging that gap, right? And I think this is where, no matter what is causing the application to fall, whether it's code or node, we're able to take care of it within one interface. And I think that's powerful.
Exactly, Sean. And you know, Turbonomic has been extremely powerful and proven and battle tested in providing the right level of resource optimization recommendations for years. This is not like an observability tool figuring out what to do and how to do this for the first time. This is leveraging the years of experience in production that Turbonomics analytics have proven, and taking that battle tested, proven capability and approach in making it available inside the context of the user experience.
Exactly. And I think the whole thing is like, the integration that you've done with Turbo is all about cutting the time, right? It's cutting the time to coming back to healthy, cutting the time to recovering from an issue, or even avoiding an issue, like you said.
In the few minutes that we have left, I want to show you a particular example around a circumstance for Kubernetes, and show you a new thing that's added. So in this case, what I clicked on was to give you a perspective of a particular platform, in this case, Kube, another view. Again, I don't have any issues to look at, but what I want to show you over here is a new feature that we added, again, new for 2025, is this new table called cost. And what I've been able to do, Sorry, I meant to show you this, but it looks like our demo system is not showing you the right information. So I'm going to show you a screen that has this information all in one thing. So in this
and I
case,
think this is also another acquisition and another integration. Really powerful.
yes, we announced an acquisition of KubeCost back in August of 2024, and as part of the last quarter and the beginning of this year, what we did was being able to show a first of a kind integration with KubeCost in now a preview mode, so that when you go into that view, you get an understanding of what's going on with respect to what releases are happening inside the context of Kubernetes, get a deeper understanding of what's going on with the health and performance and those metrics all incorporated into a single frame of reference. And then finally, be able to answer that important question of the boss comes in and says, I don't understand why my cloud bill's so high. Why are there 2 commas or 1 comma in the bill? It doesn't make sense. Go run a report and come back to me in a week. I want to see this information. Instead of having to go run around and go generate a report and get out your spreadsheet again to go do that, IBM's saying, stop. I can do this right now. Click. Here is the justification of why these namespaces cost so much and what they're doing in the construct of our performance of our business. Yes, the bill might be high, but here's justification as to why these things are really important. It might create secondary or tertiary conversations, absolutely, but for the first time, you don't have to go make another report and go, have your boss impatiently wait a couple of days or wait to go generate this. I've got it all in that single context view inside of Instana, powered by KubeCost's capabilities to put this into the right level of breakdown and analysis on a per namespace level of understanding what's going on and justify that spend based on the performance right inside of Instana's experience.
And I think, Jacob, with all of what you've built and all that is coming, I think you've really taken observability to a whole new level, right? You're giving additional infrastructure observability capabilities. You're giving cost observability. So it's truly becoming a multi-dimensional kind of an observability platform. And we are going all the way from observability to action, right? And I think this is where we are pushing the frontiers. We are using Gen AI and other things, going from see the problem to solve the problem to see the patterns to avoid issues and stay healthy, right? So I love everything.
Exactly, Sean. There's a lot of talk in the industry about moving to a proactive state and being more proactive. We're doing it with Instana and these integrations and these capabilities. It's here. We're not saying it on slides anymore. We're actually showing capabilities in the product, in the right context of the way you think of your business as applications, and then enabling you to go faster and take advantage of that proactive view, not necessarily thinking that everybody's in firefighting mode, thinking that everybody deals with only P1s, but understanding that you want to get more understanding and be more strategic as part of your overall planning. These are those types of features and capabilities. So in the few minutes that we have left, I don't know if there are any questions. If not, I'll happy to then take the remaining time. We can talk about what we've got planned for Instana.
Yeah, you can go into the roadmap, but quickly some housekeeping as Jacob is going into the roadmap and wrapping up with what's coming. Please look out for a poll. It'll show up on your screen, possibly on the right-hand side in the bottom. Give us feedback. Let Jacob and all of IBM know how we are doing with Instana, what you liked about this session, what else you would love to hear. With that, Jacob, I'll hand it over to you. Lovely session. Please take it home for us.
Sean, thank you. And again, everyone, thank you for your time today. And again, I'll call out the intended enhancements. If the future doesn't come true, please don't sue us. So as our product manager, I'm excited to show you a couple of key outcomes that we're looking in terms of Instana's vision for 2025 and help you to continue to answer the most important question: operations. Why? Why are the systems behaving the way that they're behaving, and get you that answer as quickly and in the right context as much as possible. So what are these outcomes? I'm not going to drain the entire slide. I'll just talk about the outcomes. You can see some of the example things that we're thinking about or themes over on the far right-hand side, but just in sequence over on the left. We get it. There's a conversation that goes on with the executive team or the application owners that say, you know what, great, you can do all that level of call analysis and tracing, but I don't think of my business as one application or one transaction. I think of my business as order to cash. Order to cash might comprise 5, 6, 12 different applications. I don't want to go to that level of granularity as someone who owns that part of the business. I want an experience that I can go in as an owner and see at a high level view, is order to cash healthy, yes or no? That's what we mean by enabling our application owners to portray and understand the business perspectives and business impact. Being able to tell Instana, this is my definition of order to cash. It's these applications. So essentially go one layer higher, and then not only be able to convey that type of intellectual property in between people's ears, but then also give a new experience that says this is the higher level view of what's going on with respect to order to cash as a group of entities that facilitate that particular level of importance. We're not stopping in just that view either, but it's also the right level of analytics to make sure and provide comfort to a degree to those owners that say, if I've told you that order to cash if I've told you Instana that order to cash is really important between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central European Standard Time, Monday through Saturday, then if there's something that goes on, what Instana is going to do is leverage that information and then appropriately bubble up or bubble down issues or incidents. Help us so we don't have that happen, but being able to prioritize them based on the impact that you've told us about. So if something's going wrong with order to cash and it's really important at that particular day of the week or season or et cetera characteristics, we're going to automatically use our analytics to bubble those circumstances to the top of the priority list. So that's what we're thinking about with this. The today's headlines. I apologize for my expedited explanations here. I realize we're short on time and I want to get through the entire list. There's a tremendous amount of feature and capability in our user interface today. I think of it as the equivalent of the Snow White in the Seven Dwarfs movie singing the Hi-Ho song while they're going to the diamond mine looking for gems. There's a lot of different gems in our user interface. What we want to do with Instana is, yes, if you want to go through the different views, that's awesome. We're happy to facilitate that. But in addition, what we'd like to be able to do is use our analytic layer inside of Instana to say, hey, welcome back, Sean. Here's what Instana thinks you need to pay attention to as today's headlines, or the thing that makes the most sense based on the interactions that you've done previously, or the level of importance that you've put into place, or the level of impact a particular issue has. But make a main page into Instana that presents Instana's analyzed context right in front of you. So instead of a great big list, they say, hey, welcome back. Here's what you need to pay attention to based on our analysis. Yeah, you can keep doing the initial continuation of the diagnostic process throughout our user interface. We're not going to change that at all, but being able to create a new first impression of a first page when you come into Instana as part of your initial login. We want to continue to make open telemetry a first-class citizen. What do I mean by that? A lot of our competitors say, yeah, we do open telemetry, but then they muffle a little bit and cover their lips and say terms and conditions apply. We actually put open telemetry data over here in some other sidebar user experience or user interface. We don't really analyze it in any way, shape, or form. No, says Instana, we're not going to have a care about whether or not the data came from an open telemetry source or from our own instrumentation and our own agent and sensors. We're going to treat either route of information coming into Instana as first class. Our analytics are going to analyze it, our probable cause are going to showcase it across all that. It's happening already today, but we're going to continue to proliferate and make sure that we have all of our experiences essentially treating open telemetry data as first class. And as part of that, being able to understand the additional proliferation of cloud native technologies and principles that are showing up on the CNCF landscape, making sure that we've got the right coverage for those technologies as well, because we know from our beginning conversation, that's what you're using to pick the right technologies for the way that you want to do things in today's architectural challenges and today's business approaches. Looking left into the CI/CD pipeline means all types of characteristics, but being able to understand how can we showcase to you again what's coming down the proverbial pipeline. Did Jacob check in code again on a Friday afternoon and the amount of code was 300 story points? maybe we should throw that up as an alert or a notification to the rest of the team that says, here comes Jacob again. Oh, by the way, last 3 times he did this, he broke everything, to be able to give you the insight about what's happening. And this is other types of other behavioral insight that's coming in from the CI/CD pipeline. Code is the root of all change, including IAC. So being able to showcase those types of circumstances that are coming down the proverbial pipeline, we feel are very important based on what we've heard from you and your colleagues around looking further left into the CI/CD pipeline to give you a better early warning about what's coming down the line. Ensuring our solution has the right level of data control capabilities means making sure that you've got different categorizations and classifications of importance, from being able to make sure the right people have the right access to the right information, or being able to have the right people perform the right actions based on their access controls. So grouping them together into teams, being able to say that team can or can't perform an action, are things that we're looking at in terms of assuring the right level of robust data control. And last but certainly not least, in the 50 seconds I've got left, is improving your ability to get to value by making sure that we have additional personalized insight on a journey. Instana has about 55 different use cases. We know you can't turn them all on the very first day, but being able to portray an in-product journey map that says which are the right set of use cases to start in which particular sequence that you can take the best advantage of everything, continue our improvements to utilize Tribonomic, Koop cost, and concert analytics to have the right levels of ties in terms of sustainability for network performance management, to existing evolution of our HashiCorp integrations, a substantial amount of additional work that we've got going on there to continue with our synergies and integrations approach. But thank you. I appreciate all your time. Sean, thank you for facilitating the conversation today. Team, I hope this was helpful and informative. And again, my name is Jacob Yakunovich. I'm happy to have shown you Instana today.